Yo, yo, my sovereigns, what up? This is Boba Fett, uncensored on the internet, with episode 69 of Splinterlands 101. Joining us once again, co-hosts of the show, finest gentleman who ever lived, Matt Clark.
Howdy, howdy.
Here's Matt Clark. He's one of the finest gentlemen that ever lived.
Geotrix, also known after the recent highlight on After Sounds Splinterlands TV as Pouffet Pousse, and we have a clip that we will look at later for that.
And Pouffet Pousse.
Yeah, hey, that's me.
And very excited to welcome to the show tonight. It's when you watch shows that, this person, they need no introduction, then they go ahead and they introduce them anyway. But I don't know if there's a way around that. We'd love to welcome to the show Yabba P. Matt, Yabba, whatever you know him by, you all know him. Welcome, Matt.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's awesome to get to talk with you guys and kind of see you in person at least.
Yes, indeed. And we got, was it 15 hours time difference on the clock here?
Yeah, I don't know. It's 8 p.m. here, a little after, so
14 hours then. Yeah, 10 a.m. Yeah. Oh,
yes,
no,
we
I'm
have our
going back
good old daylight savings time, that changes it up twice a year.
Yes, yeah, we have that here too. It actually gets confusing in Australia because we have 7 states. Each state has its own government. Like, the states, we've got governors, we've got premiers. Some states do, some states don't.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like a 3-hour time difference between the East Coast and the West Coast. Makes it difficult to do business, as you can imagine.
Yeah, no, I know. Hopefully we'll get rid of that eventually.
Yeah. So I'm sure that Matt Clark would like to grab the reins here. I know you have lots of questions for Matt. You've been waiting.
Well, I don't know if I have a lot of questions. They tend to get asked and answered really well in town halls. I've been going backwards and forwards thinking about today whether I would completely take over and dominate the conversation and it would be awkward, or if I'd be unable to speak and it would be awkward. I'm like, I need to talk to Matt a little bit, but not too much. Don't take over. But it's great to have him on. He's been, Matt, you've been very approachable and very transparent and open and honest from the very start. I was looking back through our DMs, and they've been very, very few because I used to send you something when I say, "Oh, here's a problem," and then it was already on its way to being fixed. So I guess, fallen back onto just trusting your wisdom and judgment with a lot of these decisions and the direction of the game. So I haven't sort of DM'd you for a long time, but I know you're busy, so
I've had to turn off notifications a lot recently, so I haven't been so good at responding to all the DMs, but it's for the best, I think.
Yeah, well, like I say, I haven't been sending them, but there was one card came out that was awkwardly named, and for cultural issues, I just DM'd you and went, "Oh, look, we did this name," and you just went, "Yep, all right, what should we call it?" I went, well, hang on, what do you mean, what should we call it? I'm just raising a red flag here. I'm not suggesting that I get to rename the card. I'm not, that's backpedal. But yeah, you just straight away, like, take what I'm saying seriously, and just like, it's that level of, I guess, trust is really endearing, right? Because then I think, oh, this guy's sort of really trusts me. I'm glad to be part of this community where if I don't need to book a time with the secretary, and obviously your time now is a lot harder to find a niche, but to find a gap. But I remember thinking, this is just so cool. I can raise a red flag, and it's like straight away gets noticed and gets paid attention to, and there's that trust there. And yeah, I don't know. So I'm really glad to be talking to you in person, and I'll let somebody else talk now.
Sure. I mean, from a time perspective, I've actually, I don't know if I officially talked about this, but I for a while I was getting roped into doing so much business administration stuff as we've grown, and too much, and I wasn't able to do anything else. So I've really stepped back from all of that, and either Aggie or other people in the organization have taken a lot of that over. I mean, almost all of it. And even all the actual like development work and like dealing with production issues and all that, like our team's taken that over and they do a better job than I ever did. So like now my focus is really on designing the product, and part of that is also talking to the community and getting feedback, and which I love doing. So doing shows like this also is great, and so it's awesome that we have a really good team that allows me to spend more time doing these things.
Yeah. Before we started recording, I brought up the fact, loved your interview on the People's Guild. Waskell and B Jangles, friends of ours, we've had them on the show. We've all each individually been on their show. And I loved when the explanation that you gave for your name. But yeah, not what I was expecting at all. And just for the viewers who haven't seen their episode, did you want to go into how that came about?
Yeah, sure. So I was a kid, and I don't know, maybe 12, 11, I don't remember. And it was when AOL Instant Messenger first came out, and that was like a big deal. And I had to pick a name for it, but Matt was taken, and I didn't want to be like Matt 123 or whatever, just like some number. So I wanted something like unique and interesting that also incorporated my name without like a bunch of numbers at the end. And I was also kind of a strange kid in that, and I am, but I read a lot of things backwards for whatever reason. And I like things like palindromes and that stuff. So, my father, I think, was watching a football game, and one of the teams was Tampa Bay. So I read it backwards, and it's Yabat Matt. And I was like, well, that's an unusual thing that's not going to be taken that incorporates my name. Not knowing at the time that would follow me for the next 30 years or so. So I just, I stuck another T at the end, and I became Yabat Matt. And then, in the future, like, I just thought the name was like weird and strange, and most people couldn't pronounce it right. So I would try like other names, but a lot of times things were taken. So even when I signed up for Steam at first, I try a few things, they're taken, and I eventually just go like, I'll just use Yabat Matt because I know that's definitely not going to be taken. And so it always ends up being my username most places, and now it's me.
Yeah. And there's quite a bit of foresight in that too. I feel sorry. You see some people, they've actually made some degree of fame, whether it's on YouTube or Free Speak, Spilling Lands TV, and their username is like a couple of letters and a bunch of numbers. It's like if they had have known back then that they would have the following they had today, they probably would have spent an extra couple of minutes picking their username.
Yeah, I mean, it's even if you don't know how to spell it correctly necessarily, you remember it, it's recognizable, and you're not going to confuse it with anybody else, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was lucky when I first jumped onto Steam. My username, Boba Fett. I was in the Melbourne hip hop scene for a while, part of a large crew, and I was basically given, because my name's Bob, given the name Boba Fett. But being hip hop, instead of F, it was PH. So at that point, it hadn't caught on. So I was able to get just Boba Fett on the Steam blockchain. But nowadays, everyone's onto it. So when it comes to Twitch, Twitter, stuff like that, I've had to make alterations of it. But yeah, it's good when you can get in it, and you are the only one on a platform without a bunch of numbers, which we've all actually got. Geo managed to get Geotrix. So yeah.
Yeah, with mine, I was in I just made it into the first 50,000 on Hive, so there wasn't too much competition. And so Matt Clark is obviously fairly quickly taken on most platforms, but I got it. And for me, it was about, okay, here's a blogging platform where everything you write is recorded forever. Do I want to have a pen name that may one day be linked to my real name, and then I've got to worry about everything I've said? Or do I worry about everything I say before I type it because it's in my name from the beginning? And I think if you recognize the long-term nature of this chain. And look, everything you've written is there forever. I think it's too easy to hide behind a pseudonym, and especially if you're having a debate with somebody, you start, getting personal or whatever. There's that temptation because you've got that distance there to just. But all it takes is for somebody to link your real name with your pen name and put that on the chain. That's permanent, and now everything that you've ever said is in your name anyway. So I thought it was a good way to keep myself honest, is to just actually use my name, and then I know that when I'm talking, I don't live in worry that somebody's going to come back and go, oh, you're actually Dragon Smasher 3000. You've said all these horrible things. It's like, well, I've been Matt Clark from the start. So it's worked out, I think, in a trustless environment like the chain, to get your name and face out there. I think it inspires a lot of trust. So yeah.
And we're all using our name to some degree, right? Like Yabba, Matt Clark, Boba Fett, Geotrix. Like, it's our names in there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Thought I'd point that
I
out.
might have, if I had to go back and do it all again, stayed more anonymous than I am now, rather than vice versa. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, it helps with confidence and trust.
That it does.
To know that they're real people, that aren't hiding behind anonymity. Like, we definitely can't rug pull, because like people will literally show up at our house, which is, a good for the community, kind of scary for us, but it is what it is.
That was a big factor for me, especially knowing both your names, knowing that you're in Philly, seeing you both on video together. Like, it just that says to me, these are guys who aren't worried about being held accountable for what they do, right? Yeah, that was a big factor. So when you say, oh, I probably would have gone a bit more anonymous, you might find that you wouldn't have enjoyed as much success and momentum early on had you done so. So you can't go back and rewrite these things, and we can imagine what things might have been like, but you change one variable, and this, but you change one variable, and who knows, sliding doors, what would have been the case now. So
Sure.
And I know you've brushed on this probably thousands of times, but how'd you get into the card game and TCG and all that? Just if you can just quickly brush through that, because yeah, I think I'd like to know personally, like what inspired you? Like, what's your passion? Like, why do you have a passion for this?
I mean, it was Magic the Gathering, no doubt.
Mhm.
I mean, so it was probably around the same time that AOL Instant Messenger came out, and I picked Yabat Matt. Was when Magic came out or started to get really popular, and it was super popular to the point where like my school like sponsored, had like Magic nights and things, just because like so many people played the game.
Let's see.
In those early years. And yeah, so I mean, I was just a huge fan. Like, all me and my friends was all Magic. I still have a whole bunch of my cards from when I was a kid. Most of them were from the beta set, and they're on my wall now. And I still I don't really play that much anymore, but I still collect the old cards. I'm still trying to complete my collection. In fact, I just recently bought one of the cards I was missing with SPS and DEC from a Splinterlands community member.
Wow.
Who knew I was collecting the beta cards and had one. So that was really cool, buying like a physical Magic card using Splinterlands assets. But that, and so I played Magic for a long time. And then, when Hearthstone came out, I was all about that. I just really liked those games. I was never as into any of the real-time games, the StarCrafts or the I really like League of Legends. I just stink at it. So
Yeah, same.
I never played those games as much as the trading card games. Were just like, and more turn-based things were just what I enjoyed. And then one of the things I really didn't like about the card games was, I always liked building new interesting decks and like trying new cards in different combinations.
Yeah.
And I was never competitive really, because everyone just, the internet crowdsourced the best decks, and you just had to kind of play those same ones over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I got really bored of that. And so that's when the idea that eventually became Splinterlands came about. It was before I, I guess I knew about Bitcoin maybe at the time, but like I had no idea anything about like crypto gaming and NFTs. It was just like I've always been a game designer and developer, so I'm always coming up with game ideas, and I've built some games of my own on like Facebook, and back then when that was a thing, that never really panned out. It's hard to compete in that market, but yeah, so it was basically playing Hearthstone, and I was like, it would be so cool if the rules changed every battle. So it was really about your knowledge of the cards and combos rather than just looking up the best deck online. And so
Yeah.
when it came to making Splinterlands, I was like, okay, this is the opportunity to do this concept.
Because mirror matches are so boring. It's like just who pulls off this combo, this mechanic of this particular card that creates a chain of other effects first. That's all it is. Who can get there quicker? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you lose that in an entire aspect of the game when it's just look up deck online and just play it over and over. And yes, you can be better or worse at it, and there's a lot of skill involved. And
there is.
But for me, it was I was more interested in like cool card combos and trying new things than just like playing the same decks over and over.
And that has really become apparent in the game. I mean, I know back in the Alric days, I had my favorite hand, and if I played this hand with a particular rule set, there was a pretty good chance. But you can't do that anymore. You pick you can't have a favorite team anymore, because if you just put up your favorite team with the new rule sets, with the new metas, the new card, you're just going to get wrecked by someone. I just love the fact that you can't just have a go-to team anymore. Right? You've really got to take in each individual rule set, and every now and then you cop a really good score, or you get wrecked because with the free rule sets that come up, you go, okay. Then you start picking your teams, and then once they all add up, you go, oh no, I forgot all about that one. And
yeah, I do that all the time. Or I play against someone where I'm like, either it's a poorly programmed bot or they forgot about one of the rule sets. Yeah. You can tell that.
Yeah. And this is obvious, isn't it? And they got all these sneakers, and it's Fog of War, and it's like,
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so the abilities dictate like what you can play in the rule sets here, which means all cards are used. But yeah, in traditional TCG, most of the time, like for example, Yu-Gi-Oh, it's the archetype of those cards that they release. And then because everyone starts using them, and then they start like just these broken combos with older cards and other like spell cards and trap cards, it's like it just gets overwhelming, and they have to ban it. At least because I have actually an example. There was it was called Spellbook, a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype. Awesome, cool, like sort of cool archetype, like awesome archetype. And it got banned 3-4 months before I bought a maxed out deck, like a whole deck of it. Like I spent like a fair amount, yeah. And just okay, we're banning this, or particular cards that make the deck good. It's like, oh, thank you. And that's when I was like, this is the last time. And then I just stopped playing, but I still like the cards, right? They look cool. But that's all I kept it for. That's all I bought them for. And yeah, so at least here you're not like banning anything. It's like what's on the ban list for this season or this, it's like, yeah, you don't have to put up with that here. And I think it's cool how you try to make every card sort of usable, or like, it's not like singling out cards that people have put money into. It's a bit sucky.
There's so much scope there with land now coming out too, and this has been you've said this has been the idea from the start of land. Is it's like not a nursing home, but it's where the older cards go to remain productive and useful. They still can be used in wild, but they're not at the cutting edge. So having that, every card has a use on land and in wild, and then every new card has a chance to shine in modern, I think is a fantastic way of doing it all. It's funny when you say trading card games, I turn-based has been a massive turn-off for me my entire life. I've literally not played a single turn-based game until Splinterlands. Real-time strategy, yep, sign me up. RPGs, fighting, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Gee, I've wasted some time on those. But turn-based was always nerd rubbish, and it was I think I had some quite maybe on the spectrum friends growing up who would get completely lost in these worlds. And I remember thinking, I don't, like World of Warcraft. I lost some good friends to World of Warcraft. I'm like, I never see him anymore. I'm trying to, we're trying to go to a party and drink beer and chase girls, and this guy's just vanished into this black hole of Warcraft. So turn-based was like that place too far for me. I was like, no, I'm not gonna get involved or engaged with that. And so this Splinterlands is the first time that I've sort of gone, oh, it's turn-based, but I love everything else, so I'll give it a try. And I think that shows if you play me that I don't have a great deal of experience in this type of gameplay. But it's been, I guess for me, it's all brand new, right? And so I'm looking at this going, oh, this is a really interesting mechanic. And other people are going, well, this is kind of, you can tell they've played a lot of Hearthstone with the way they've done. And I'm like, oh, right, I don't know anything about any of that. All I know is this is really cool and fun right here. Yeah, so it's I think the way that you're taking the older cards and putting them on land and giving them that extra utility, yeah, the extra purpose, I think is really brilliant. One thing you've said, because I tend to watch a lot of stuff if you're on, because I really enjoy the insights. You mentioned, Matt, that you regretted repeating alpha for beta and then adding the neutrals. I remember, I think you said that you would prefer, had they been their own completely different set. Is there? Am I remembering that right? And is there? What would you say stands out to you as things that, looking back now, if you knew then what you know now, what do you think would be different about, I guess, anything relating to gameplay, the cards, abilities? Somebody mentioned in Discord the other day about how Lord of Darkness originally was going to have fear ability, which took the first card and put it to the back of the opposing team or something like that. That would have been OP, I agree. But is there anything that you look at it and think, oh, I wish that we'd have just made this slight change back then, and now things would be much simpler or easier, or something would be more viable now?
Actually, if I could just jump in quickly to add to that while you're going to be exploring that area. Remember back with the A's and B's, there was a period it's like you could combine A's and B's. Could you?
Well, you could convert alphas to betas, right? So you could combine them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was all part. It was messy, right? That's why I don't like it. I don't like things that are messy, and that's still all in there. So we have like it's all weird with the BCX now. I mean, even the whole concept of BCX is like all from this initial like idea of experience that didn't pan out. So it's like it's messy not only for like players and understanding what's going on with these cards, but also from a code perspective, we always have to constantly like deal with this messy old stuff. So so yeah, in retrospect, I mean, we did it obviously because we didn't have time and resources to go create a whole new set of cards. It was like, Aggie and I had other full-time jobs at the time. We didn't know like Alpha was going to sell out and this was all going to be happening and we need a new set of cards. So, we did what we could. And so it is what it is. But I definitely think it was just messy and weird and confusing. And so I would have preferred not to have that. But as far as other things, there's a whole bunch of things. Obviously, like if we could go back, we do things differently, and a lot of that stuff, like we're trying to implement in the Genesis League games and in tower defense, right? So as we build new things, we're trying to take all the learnings of Splinterlands into those things. So one of them is like that whole concept of experience, right? So we wanted, obviously you combine cards to level them up, but we thought it would be great, like if you just by using them actually in battles, they would gain experience and level up. But ultimately, I realized that if we have both of those, then no one would ever, it would be a huge disincentive to ever combine cards, right? Because if you have 2 level 1 cards, those could be 2 max level cards, but if you combine them, it would be only 1. So you destroy any chance. So it would be just like no one would ever want to combine cards, and you would just always want to level up the cards, or you're losing a ton of value. And I was like, well, that sucks. I mean, obviously combining cards is what we really want people to do. So we got rid of the whole XP thing. But what we're doing, at least with Genesis League goals, which, you know, in retrospect would have been cool to do in Splinterland, is basically have two separate level up paths, right? So there's one, you combine cards and you get these certain things, but they also need experience to get these other certain things, right? So it's two different paths. You get both of the mechanics together. And I think, you know, combining the cards, you know, the combined level is also going to limit the experience level. So you can't just take a card that like has one BCX and level it up to max. You have to combine and play. So I think that's really cool. And, you know, another thing is like having the whole energy concept be based within the card itself rather than on the account, right? Then you get out of all the, like, you know, multi-accounting things and like bot farming is and transferring the assets to all these accounts. So in both Genesis League and in Tower Defense, you know, each NFT themselves is going to have a certain amount of energy. So you can play an unlimited amount of battles or matches per day as long as you have enough NFTs to support that. And sending it to different accounts doesn't change anything, right? And then there'll be things like, you know, energy drinks or whatever in goals that can allow you to give the cards more energy, or you could pay you know, GLUSD or whatever. So you know, those are just some examples of the things where, like, going back, those would have been cool to do in Splinterlands.
Yeah.
And now that we're still on the card discussion, I think my favorite thing that you do personally is the balancing of cards and how just like I converse Matt Clark. You know, he's got a huge deck, right? Let's be honest. And
Geo
here
gets
I am.
bloodlust. We just get these challenges just pop up in our screen all day long from Geo.
And here I am with a much smaller deck, right? And I verse him. And then it's like, whoa, where did that come from? I beat him. I like that. I really, you know what I mean? Usually it's just like who has the best deck, who has the most priciest cards win. But this thing you've done, it's like wizardry to me, right? Like you've just balanced it so well, or as well as I've ever seen. And yeah, I think that's just like next level to me. Yeah, just how do you do it? Like
even when the teams are there, like we'll battle here in the show, Matt, and we'll look at the screen and we'll see the cards are all laid out, and then we'll go around and we'll talk. I'll say, I think this is going to happen, and then this guy's going to do that, and then. But if you were wrong about one thing early on, suddenly we're all sitting here watching and going, "How did?" But we all agreed. If it was a democracy, he would have won because we all agreed he would have won. But it doesn't matter, like it just. And so yeah, when the underdog has a chance of winning, and that's where people are they'll you know have problems with the RNG. But when it means that the underdog wins or that those surprises happen, that's when there's that real, you know, when it really grips you. And Geo does love it because when he beats me, he's beating me, right? He's beating the massive deck and and so yeah, it's great. And when I beat him, he's like, oh well, yeah, he beat me because he's got more cards.
It's a win-win for him, right? You know,
exactly. Plausible deniability right there. Like,
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, well, just one of the things that, like, I know it's going to be still a while out, but that's one of the things that excites me so much about items and spells also is that, like, it's that whole thing. So part of the game, part of every battle is you got to look at the battlefield and you got to try to anticipate what's going to happen, which is hard. And so that's what makes it, you know, interesting. And you'll have to obviously, you know, equip items and use different spells to try to alter that while your opponent's doing the same thing. So I'm super excited to add more stuff like that. And even before we get into that level, you know, we're exploring. I think we've talked about this in town halls, but if not, then it's new alpha. But for Rebellion, we're exploring like even more agency during team selection. Things like things where you can like have choices for cards. So not only do I use this card, but I make some type of choice. Like, possibly you could choose its targeting. So instead of it has opportunity or it has sneak, there might be, certain abilities where you can choose targeting options, like target the card, the first card with a healing ability or target or whatever. So it makes it just more interesting. And utilizing the rule sets. It's just more stuff you do than just pick the cards and order them, other different options. And there's a whole bunch there that I think will be really fun and a lot easier to do.
And
there is a tweak. Sorry, Gio. There is a tweak I'd like to see. While we're heading in that direction. There's a lineup that I like to use with Rexy and then Minotaur Warlord behind it. Not Minotaur Warlord, Minotaur the Alpha Minotaur card with Reach, with him behind, and they have the same speed. And I would love to be able to tell one of them, if your speed's tied, wait for the other guy to go first, right? Wait for your teammate to go first. So because it's the lineup, it's 21 mana, and then you include that, and the idea is that you get a ranger. And then you get the reach, and then Rex. By then, hopefully, the armor's been stripped off, so Rexy gets that chance to trample, right? So I want him to go last. So I'd love it if we're looking in that direction to be able to select this team and say to Rexy, right? If you're tied with a teammate, you just wait for them to go, and then you go, right? So you have a bit more, kind of what you're saying, a bit more tweaking.
Yeah, and that stuff is a lot easier to do than like building an entirely new type of card into the game. So yeah, that's a great one, and we're just going to look at all those type of things that we can, do.
And adding to
that one you just mentioned, it's like saying, really, I don't. If your opponent's down to 1 life, and the next guy, I want him to wait for my gladiator. I want him to wait for my I want my bloodluster to take him out. So,
yeah.
Also, what could fix that? And you mentioned this on a Hive. It was on a Hive post, and I never heard many mention it before, right? I don't know if you've said this on Town Hall or whatever, but it's like being able, because this will solve that who goes first and last thing. Imagine being able to choose the level of the card, so it reduces it down to 1 speed, so you get that advantage. Or for this particular rule set, you want that, or you don't want that ability. You know what I mean? You can pick and choose and scroll through each individual card of the levels you want, and probably could give human advantage. That adds to the that's what that's what I think it adds to.
That was one of those where we looked at it, and like the amount of actual times you would really want to do that, and the amount of people that would really take advantage of it was probably so small as to not make that a priority.
Yeah.
So that's why it hasn't been done. And I'm not sure. I think it'd be better to do things like, Matt was saying, where you just kind of can pick some more things. You can choose like this card waits to go after this other card on your team. Might be just more useful and better for more people. But yeah, that's basically like all I do is like try to think, how can I make this game more skill based, more fun, more advantageous to like human players who can think on the spot about it. And we're going to try to get those in as we can. And I didn't actually answer the even original question about the balancing.
Oh yeah.
It's the cool thing is it's not as hard as it is in other games because of the rule sets, right? So in most cases, like it's actually hard to make a card that's just like OP, because in certain rule sets it's just going to suck, right? So I have a really involved spreadsheet with all these like custom macros and formulas and things where we like assign point values to everything, every different stat, every different ability. And that gives a quick baseline. So like you can design cards, you put stuff in, the point values match up, and there's like a target for each rarity and level and mana and all these things. So you can just see like, okay, the point values are close to the target, and it's not like crazy out of line, right? But then you just go and take another pass, and this is the thing where people like Byzantinist help out with just like going through and being like, well, okay, the point values might be in line, but these set of things together is going to be overpowered, or it's too similar to this other card or whatever. But I think it is much easier than balancing other games, just the way that the game works. And it's cool also because in any trading card game, Magic, I'm sure Yu-Gi-Oh is the same. There's just like so many cards that just suck and nobody plays them, right? There's just like filler cards, and I just have boxes of them in my basement.
Absolutely.
And we really don't have that nearly as much here, because like even some of the really bad cards, like there are these situations where now you want to play it. And that's what's so cool. And as we get, as we learn more about designing the cards, I design more with a focus on cards being niche. So I try to specifically make cards like, Jared's Scar, where like, I know this card is going to suck a lot of the time, but any time where you have like Melee Mayhem or Equal Opportunity, you're going to want that card in because it's awesome, right? And that's what I try to do with the cards, and it allows us to make like, we keep making, there's new sets and new sets and new sets, and how do you make, obviously we introduce some new abilities and things, but we just go after these things like, okay, this particular rule set combination, I'm like, let me just make a card that's just the best in that one weird situation, or these few weird situations. And it's like, okay, if you don't want to have that card, then fine, you don't need to get it. But when that one situation comes up, if your opponent has it and you don't, that's going to be a problem. So it's pretty neat, and it's kind of fun actually designing cards with that mindset.
Well, wouldn't that like,
Love
I thought we all froze for a second. I was like, no.
it.
With that, the pull down thing, but I know you guys are, and you yourself, really keen on people combining their cards. And a lot of people are holding their cards. Like they've got their, one speed, and then you max that card and it's 2 speed, and it's your go-to for a reverse speed, or you're doing 1 magic damage. But if you level it up, now you're doing 2 magic damage. So now you're getting hit back by Magic Reflect. So a lot of people are holding cards at certain levels. Wouldn't that, if you max it and then go, okay, I only want level 6 for this particular game.
It's something I think we should do, and I want to do
at a later date.
It's just everything's a matter of priorities. So that's not like just a super easy thing. I mean, it's relatively easy, like on the back end, to make it work, but how does the user interface work to make that make sense? And it's just, we kind of did like there's a word for it, where you kind of scope out the project. And it was like kind of a big project. And then we were like, okay, well, there's this kind of big project first, the other things that we want to do, which are like land and SPS staking for battle rewards and things, and all the other things we're working on. And so it's just like that one, it didn't make the cut yet.
All right.
Rebellion. Is it definite that there's going to be summoners with dual elements?
I mean, I can't say anything is definite before it happens, because things change. But that's the plan.
Okay.
And obviously the new promo card that we announced is going to be the first dual element monster card. So we're going the dual element direction. And I think we discussed like having that be the first dual element summoner, but I think we kind of said let's wait until Rebellion and kind of really do it fully.
I had a feeling that the artwork did look summonerish. Like I saw it, I was like, oh my god, that looks like a summoner. Like I even said it, I even wrote it down. I was like, wait, this looks like a summoner, like in the artwork and everything. But yeah, no, thanks.
I
Like,
hear you on that, because even on the town hall when Nate was going through it, and he's talking about it, because Nate loves to like just like real fishy, just little bit at a time. Like, I saw the ranged thing, and it still didn't click in my head. I was still thinking it's a summoner.
Yeah.
Even though I can see the like it just didn't click until he mentioned it. So yeah.
But I think it ongoing in the future. I guess if you wanted to add extra spice, there's that direction, that could be worth exploring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, I think the plan is to look for that in Rebellion. I mean, with kind of all the new things we're thinking, I talked about some of them earlier, like new like ways of doing things in team selection, and there's definitely going to be some new abilities, multicolor, monsters and summoners. Rebellion, is going to kind of be a big thing for the game.
If we it's just one of those, like a Neo, that little splinter in your mind. Every time I see Venari or Goblin or Naga, I think to myself, this seems so nebulous. There's no formal function in Splinter or in attack type or anything. Have we firmed up a bit on any way that these are going to be pulled together, like items and spells, for example? I keep thinking of having Goblin Kicker boots or something that you'll do if you put these boots on your player, on your monster. They'll do double damage to Goblin monsters or something. Is there anything that would to pull that together? Have we firmed up on that at all, or is it still just up in the air?
It's something also we're looking at potentially for Rebellion. We'll see. I mean, at some point you can't have too much, but there's definitely a whole big spreadsheet that the creative team has put together with all the cards in the game and the creature type, Goblin or Venari or whatever. And there's also spreadsheets of like different factions that they belong to and all these different things. So and we're going through and seeing what's the breakdown for each splinter element, how many of them are there and etc. Because I really do want to have those be a thing, right? Where we could at the very least have like rule sets where no goblins or goblins get whatever, or different things like that. So I think that's. Yeah, I mean, I agree, because if we have these things, they're clearly there. So we need to make them, official, and we can also use that in new things like in land in the future and in boss fights. It's all different ways we could go there. So yeah, I would say that will happen. It's just a matter of timing.
Yeah,
So
even like a synchronicity thing. So if you had a Crystal Smith and a Bone Smith work together with a multi-splinter summoner, maybe there's some synchronicity there where they're better than the sum of their parts because you've got two of these Smith cards in the same team, or again, two Goblins or two Venaris or something like that. I mean, there's so much scope there. So sorry, Bob, I cut you off.
Yeah, with the magical land, what's the chance of discovering a patch of mushrooms on there that give a boost to your magic users on the team? Right out of the blue
Some
there.
psilocybin, huh?
I mean, the whole idea of land is ultimately to create the item and spell cards, right? So that will be ultimately how you give the boosts. I don't think we're going to do anything other than that, or possibly the secret of Praetoria, which is still a secret, but could factor in in some ways.
I gotta say, we talked about this on a previous episode. You FOMO'd me out so bad on that episode of the town hall. Like, whatever you think it's going to be, like 100-fold or whatever type thing. So, and I do have a magic on one of our episodes. I surveyed two. I've got 3 plots. One I haven't picked yet. I'm waiting for a plot in Death. But the 2 plots that I had, we surveyed on the show. One was a rare, one was a magical.
Oh wow, like, yes. That's pretty good odds there.
You're not wrong. Oh. Yeah, I was like, yes, this is my Secret of Praetoria plot. This is for that. Like, I FOMO'd out so bad because I was thinking meh before. Got to farm that SPS and grain for the market. But yeah, you FOMO'd me out bad.
Yeah, I think obviously. There's 2 different ways to go. Like, I'm not going to focus that much on SPS because I think that's like the boring one, right? It's
and
like
plenty of others will.
The people who want their ROI, or whatever. And maybe I'll do it on the occupied plots are the ones that get a bonus for SPS. So the ones I have, I should do that there. But like the Secret of Praetoria thing, it's the long-term one. It's for the people who are going to be here for years, right? And it's not just like how can I cash out or whatever. So it's more like trusting in that, like that's going to be a big deal in the future, and you don't want to wait around for it. So, and it's not something that you can purchase either, right? It's not tradable, so you can't just like get your SPS or whatever and then just go buy a whole bunch of research down the road when you find out it's awesome. So yeah, that's all I can say about it, is to let everybody know, like, I plan to try to be the the top in my territory to get the title and just to unlock the secret, as soon as I possibly can.
I think that says enough. I think that pretty much sums it up, yeah. So I'm going with, now that we're on the topic of lands, what are you most excited for? Or even not regarding land, just anything. Like what's something that you really want to see sooner than later? Like what's on your priority list? I know we have a roadmap, but I guess if as an individual, like what is it that you really want to see?
I mean, there's nothing that can top land. And it's not just like 1.5. And so many people are like, oh, it's only this, and like this is kind of boring and whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know. This is just like the first, like we just sat down, we're like, what is the first thing we can put out there as quickly as possible to kind of get this going? This is not nearly at all everything we want to do. And that's, we're already starting on the full land phase 2 white paper, and I've talked about that a lot. So there's no way anything could be more exciting, in my opinion, than that, because it's so much, and it's going to be so cool, in my opinion. But putting that aside for a second, what's the most exciting things? I don't know. One thing, I'm actually very excited about the whole like DEC as a product-backed stablecoin concept. And I think it's frustrating that I think a lot of people in the community see that as like a distraction, or like, why are we focusing so much on that? It's not part of the gameplay, and yada yada yada. But I look at it more as, we're not just here to build a fun and interesting game. Like that's really important, and obviously we try to do that. But that's not like the new and exciting and interesting part about what we're doing. The new, interesting, exciting part is that we're trying to build a fun and interesting game that builds value for the people who participate in it, right? Otherwise we couldn't compete with all the other game companies out there, right? That, we just don't have the resources. They have like, there's people with like PhDs in building fun games, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
no, you're right.
So to me, like, yeah, we got to focus on building a fun and interesting game, but where the real challenge lies is, how do we build it in a way that all the participants, gain value together, and like, grow together. And to me, we need a stable coin for markets and trading and all this stuff. Like it just doesn't work, like, with Rooney, and the prices are all over the place. It just doesn't make for a good like experience when we're buying and selling cards and doing all these things with prices go all over the map. So like the stablecoin thing is so important, and we need it to be like our own stablecoin in the game, and we can't back it with assets, and we can't algorithms don't really work. So this whole concept we've come up with, I just think is so like amazingly cool and unique, not just for Splinterlands, right? Just in general ecosystem of having a product-backed stablecoin is so cool. And like, having it, like, we have to have a good, fun product to support it. So to me, I think most people are underestimating like how important that is. And also just forgetting like people to know and like look at Splinterlands from the wider ecosystem, like getting above all the noise of all the other games out there. Like that to me is just a really, really important thing. I'm excited for that to start working, to get to the point where it's like it's just at the par value constantly or like slightly
Yeah.
above. And then it's just a matter of, okay, you know, you need DEC for all these things, and you don't even want to buy it on the market. You just burn the SPS for it. Right. When it gets to that thing where everyone's just like, oh, I need a ridiculous amount of DEC for my land or for whatever it is, and you don't even think about buying on the market because you know it's already like a little over par or whatever all the time, and you're better off burning your SPS. It's still obviously like it sends all the value to SPS, just the same as if things were priced in SPS, but it just creates this like flywheel effect, right? When people just start, when we constantly have more and more products and people constantly need DEC, so they're constantly burning SPS, it builds on itself and it grows on itself. And it can take our game to a whole nother level. It can allow us to do so much more. We'll have more resources to be able to build. Like, it frustrates me how long it takes to do land and all these other things, and we're like constrained, and this is like such a cool way that benefits everybody. So I'm gonna really push for things like to reprice Rift Watchers in DEC, because that's how we achieve this. And I feel like all the people who are against it are very like short-term focused, like, oh, you know, some people will get it for cheaper than I got it or whatever, which is the case anyway for people who bought when SPS was, you know, 10 times the price it was now anyway. So that's never going to go away, that some people, you know, are going to be better traders and get things ultimately for cheaper. But that's just very short-term, like, you know, I don't like it, you know, because some people might get a better advantage like right now or but like from a long-term perspective, like that's how this whole thing works. And that's how we get to this point where this like system I'm trying to build works, is you price everything in DEC. That's it. And it's just, there's constant demand. So I don't know, that's I'm excited for that, because I've been designing and building this and trying to push this whole system in this direction for, you know, over a year now. And I feel like we're close. So that's exciting.
Stability is sexy. You know, instead of selling out, let's say I want to take a little bit of profit from some cards I have extra of in the height of the markets, whenever that may be. Instead of selling out for Hive, Swap Hive or whatever, and turning that into HBD, you got it all in game. No movement, all within the game. I think I hear you 100%, Bob.
Yeah, so like you're in a no-win situation when nothing is going to shake up the stakeholders more than making any adjustment to the economy. Right, that just is going to rattle everyone's cages instantly. And you know, when you come up with the decision about that, like you're working towards, like say, the big picture. Initially, it's just that shock reaction. Immediately, everyone's just thinking of their own wallet right now. It's always going to happen. And you know, I know you from previous comments on town halls that, you know, a lot of people take that out on you personally, comments and stuff like that. That's going to happen. That's always going to happen. You mess with a man. You want two things. You know, you mess with a man's wife, or you mess with a man's bank account. That's that's the two things that's going to shake. But I'm really.
The thing is, I'm trying to help the bank account over the long term, right? A lot of people don't realize, like, you know, I mean, it came up with the whole land thing about, you know, I think there should be a max production, you know, a max-based production on the plots, which I talked about in the last town hall. And I talked to, you know, some of the few people who have those alpha gold foil legendaries. They're like, this is going to decrease the price of the alpha gold foil legendaries and blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, we invested so much in these and things. I'm like, I don't think it is. And I think if land kind of sucks for 99% of the people, because a few people are dominating the rewards, then all the cards are going to be worth less, including the AlphaGo Foil legendaries. So like, if you want them to be valuable, land has to be awesome, and it has to be awesome for everybody. So it's just like I'm in the midst of writing a personal blog post kind of about all these things, which I haven't done in forever. But one of the main things it talks about is like, I have a very clear goal that I like my whole life revolved around Splinterlands is towards, which is just how can we increase the utility and the demand for all of Splinterland's assets sustainably over the long term? Like, that's all I think about, right? So I don't care about what prices might do on the market, various markets in the short term, or what people might think of this, or who bought what when. Because ultimately, if the whole product isn't awesome and stays a leader in blockchain gaming, prices of everything are going to drop anyway. So it's just like, long term, how do we make this the best product that the most people want to play and spend money on? And I just can't imagine. It's hard to imagine, at least, how like everyone, especially people who have so much into the game, are sometimes not on board with that. And even in some of those conversations, like, I'm talking to them and they kind of agree with me, but they're still like, oh, but the prices might drop, and I'm like, AlphaGo Foil legendaries don't even trade. So, the prices can't even drop at all, because they just don't even actually trade. But yeah, I don't know. So
I had an interesting DM session with a guy who arrived and then left not long after. And it really illuminated to me where we are. And he asked me a whole lot of questions, which told me more about him than maybe my answers told him about me. But he said, okay, how much total value do you have in the game right now? And I said, oh, it's probably $1 million, $1.5 million US dollars, something like that. And he said, well, what are you pulling down? What are you making every day? I said, oh, I guess $200, $300 that I'm just reinvesting. I haven't geared myself up to extract. I'm just all about the reinvesting. And he says, that's ridiculous. That's rubbish. And basically just cut things off, and I, deleted the unfriended or whatever. Like, he was almost personally offended by how little I'm making off this. And I got to thinking, there's two different focuses. There is the original hunter-gatherer mindset, which is you arrive in the valley, you strip every tree bare, you burn them for firewood, you kill every animal that you can carry, and then you move on to the next valley. And that's what Web3 gaming has been, right? Arrive, make what you can while you can, and then get out before the whole thing collapses, before the ecosystem collapses. Right. And that mentality cannot comprehend the idea of a farming homestead, where, okay, there's a cow, it's my cow, but I'm not going to kill it today. In fact, I've got dozens of cows, and I'm not planning on killing any of them today, because I've got some meat curing and we're fine, and I'm milking them every day. And so the hunter-gatherer can't comprehend the mindset of the farmer. And the hunter-gatherer will let you know by their questions that they're like, well, how fast can your children run? How far can they run in a day, right? What can they? How quickly can your house be deconstructed and moved to another valley? But the things that they value are based in their understanding. And when basically what we're trying to do here is build, really, I think, one of the first homesteads, actual farms in a world full of hunter-gatherers who don't understand this long-term, what you're saying. And so it's very, very difficult. I think if you have enough farmers, if you have enough people who get that and go out and they fertilize their crops, and they carefully and painstakingly respect each other's private property. And blockchain is all about private property. You don't have my keys, you don't have my stuff. It doesn't matter. Democracy be damned, right? Nobody can touch my stuff. It's the pinnacle of private property. Surely this is where you should get that benefit of capital expenditure and growing and cultivating your own stuff. And I think you've almost got this momentum against you. Splinterlands has had momentum against it from the start, because you're trying to turn hunter-gatherers into farmers and have them get that this is a long-term thing. And so I think that's more testament to what you guys have managed to achieve, because you're trying to build it it's like an education piece as well as a building piece. You're going to say, hey guys, here's this thing. By the way, change everything about the way you think about this thing. Swimming against the tide.
Yeah, I guess I also, my guess is that you didn't actually spend $1 to $1.5 million buying Splinterland stuff, right? So I mean, if he's looking at it from that perspective, like, oh, okay, you spent $1 million and you're earning 200 a day, yeah, that may not be so great, but right, there's asset appreciation is really the focus more so than daily or monthly ROI, right? And that's obviously the difference between Splinterlands and lots of other blockchain-based games, or definitely like DeFi protocols, where it's all about like ROI based, and it's a timing, get in before it collapses, and get out, or get out before it collapses type thing. This is more just like being part of something that ideally grows over the long term. And that's my focus, like, all the time. It's just thinking like, I'm not worried about like, oh, Matt Clark might make $100 now and instead of $200. It's more like, how can Matt Clark's $1 million worth of stuff eventually be 10 million in not that long. And that's just, it's just, and and the other argument that bugs me that I talk about in the post is that, like, well, it was announced like this, or it works like this, so we just shouldn't change it. And I'm like, that just makes no sense. I mean, it's like, it's like you're Lewis and Clark, exploring out west in the US. I don't know if you guys know about that stuff, but in Australia, but like, and they do their best ahead of time to say like, I think this is the best way to go, right? They don't really know about the terrain. And then they get out there, and the way they thought was a good way to go, there's a big mountain in front of them. And instead of saying, okay, well, we're going to go around the mountain, they just say, nope, this is where we said we were going to go. And everyone made decisions based on us going that way. So we're going to have to climb over the mountain now. So I'm like, this is like totally uncharted territory. And anytime we like are pretty confident we have a much better way to do things to build long-term value for everybody, we're not going to hesitate to do them. And we shouldn't not do them just because we didn't think of it earlier. It just makes no sense to me. And I think people and everyone here should have that mindset, right? Everyone here should know that like stuff is going to change, and it's going to change a lot. And the hope is that it changes, obviously, for the better. But change is going to be a constant. So people should know that when they make their decisions, and when they look to buy cards or whatever they do, it's just part of it. And, if you don't want that, that's fine. I get it. I always tell people like, this isn't for everyone. And there's lots of other projects that are much more mature and stable. And, go participate in those if you don't like it here. But I don't like hearing people, if someone doesn't like an idea, they think like, oh, this is a bad idea for the future growth of the game. I want to hear about it, right? But I don't want to hear like, we shouldn't do that just because it's changing something. That's not a reason not to do something, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Life
it's like
is
the old
change, huh?
adage, only wet babies like change. And what we're dealing with on the blockchain, this is a paradigm shift. And there's like railway tracks that you're going through, and there's a buffer zone either side. And you can go a little bit this way, you can go a little bit that way, but some people are just hardwired. That's it. And there are people that are just going to reach that barrier, and it is impenetrable. And there's nothing we can do for them. And I got a lot of confidence listening to your interview on the People's podcast, People's School podcast, when you cottoned on back when you were quite young to the whole fiat scam, and the recognition of Bitcoin not as a transaction thing but as a savings. And as you know, the Filipinos are quite active in the Splinterlands environment. We had a guy on our show, BMO, and was saying just like gold reward chests with 0.1 or whatever SPS or something like that. That's more than I've ever earned by having money in the bank as interest. You just got to change how you think, and we still get the argument, oh, but how do you just create money out of nothing? That's, well, I don't know. You tell me. You're the one in that system, not us.
Ask the central banks. I don't know. Like people think like, oh, you can't create money out of nothing. Like, but no, that's how money works. Like that, all the money you use, it's created out of nothing. And this is actually like in a way created out of less nothing, right? Because it's not just it's like algorithms and things, and it's not just like, some people being like, I think we should create more money today, or oh no, the banks are failing, quick, create a lot more money and throw it at them. Like that's what happens. And when people start to really like, they think it doesn't work that way, but once they kind of realize, oh, wait a sec, this money is all just like some people type stuff in a computer and they can take it away just as easily. It makes you realize that this crazy internet money stuff is actually more real than dollars.
Yeah.
And at least we can talk to the person who created the money.
Yeah.
Right. All these figureheads, all these pyramid schemes, like, oh, you got to talk to this guy, and then this guy directs you to this guy, and it's just a loop of nothing, and you never get anywhere.
Yeah. And even with the fiat scam, like, the whole fiat economy, every single dollar in circulation is simply the principal of a loan. And how do you pay back a loan with interest when the only thing you have to pay it with is the money you've already borrowed? Like recognizing that system and creating an economy, I get so much confidence from that. And it's the irony, like looking back to those days, did you ever think you would be running and designing an economy? Did you ever see yourself as an economist?
I mean, no, but it's also like what I did. So I was a game developer, but I worked for the companies I worked at before starting Splinterlands. We were doing rewards-based gaming, so it wasn't gambling, although I did some of that. But it was, I mean, when I did some of that, like built some gambling games. I actually invented my own dice game that me and someone I know were trying to sell to casinos, and I think is actually still a cool game that has potential. But in any case, there was like sweepstakes-based games or loyalty-based games and things. So where you would, they were like regular games you would play, like bingo and different things, but you would actually could win real prizes. So you could win, iPads and different things. So I had experience designing games where there was real value in the economy. So it obviously lent itself very well to move into blockchain-based gaming. Blockchain-based gaming takes it to like 100x, right? Where like everything has value and can be traded constantly all the time. And it's crazy, but it's also awesome.
Yeah.
I do love the SPS, burning that for 975 DEC it really is brilliant. The way it effectively takes demand for people that want to move SPS into packs. It says, okay, if DEC is below the intended price, that is below the peg, then you want to sell your SPS. Unfortunately, pushing down the price of SPS, but driving up the price of DEC up to the peg. But if DEC is above the peg, then that same thing that you want to do, SPS via DEC into packs, then becomes burn the SPS, make it more scarce and therefore more valuable to generate more dark energy crystals, slightly pushing the price down, keeping it down again to peg, and then into your assets that you want to buy. And that's just brilliant, right? So not just for the we all talk about the flywheel effect that brings to SPS, but also for dark energy crystals stability. I mean, if we've got it blows my mind. We are going to have such a stable coin as long as there's demand for Splinterlands products.
Right, and that's what we're missing is the demand, and like our the Splinterlands organization is kind of doing everything that we can, right? We've lost a ton of revenue by always accepting DEC at that value when it was trading sometimes at like half of that on the market. but we really need the DAO effectively to do its side of that. And some people are like, oh well, we don't want to change Rift Watchers because we shouldn't change things and we should wait till the next thing. But like, okay, yeah, we can wait. And some people are like, oh, Land's going to take care of it, and maybe not though. And I don't know if like 1.5 is necessarily going to take care of it. Or a lot of things we do, it's like like we announce Land or we'll release 1.5 or a new thing, and then like DEC spikes and then it like goes back down because that demand isn't constant. Right. We need packs. We need stuff that's like just constantly available. So, but yeah, and I also really can't take credit for the ideas because like most of the stuff in the game, I take from like other DeFi platforms and I see what works and like, oh, this is cool. This is how we apply it to Splinterlands here. And that was actually mostly taken from Terra and Luna, which like, oh, you don't want to take something from that. That's failed spectacularly. But that part of it worked really well. That's why it became one of the top 10 tokens and tens of billions in market cap, was the whole burning Luna for Terra mechanism. Where they failed was that you could go the other way and burn Terra. So that would be like allowing you to burn DEC to mint SPS. So the one thing that I did come up with, one of the few things I came up with that I didn't just steal from everything else is, well, instead of propping up the price on the downside of DEC by having this reverse burning mechanism, which led to the whole fallout, we just price products in it, right? So if assuming people want to buy Splinterland stuff, and the only way you can buy the Splinterland stuff is in DEC, then if DEC ever goes down on the market, it's just a sale, right? It's cheaper stuff. And if you look at it, that's really the way things like the US dollar have their value. Right? The US dollar doesn't have any value by itself. It's not backed by gold or anything. It doesn't have some algorithm to give it value. It's just everything's priced in dollars, right? So if you could find somewhere where you could spend 70 cents and get $1, right? You would just do that all day until that goes away, because then you just get cheaper everything you want to buy. So it's really just taking the concept of how fiat money works. It's backed by products. We do that for DEC. And then we have the part that works of, the SPS burning to keep it stable on the upside. And yeah, that's why I said earlier, that's one of the things I'm actually most excited about. And it's a little frustrating because I have trouble articulating how important and exciting that is to our community, I think, and why they should probably like stop fussing about all the things they're fussing about and think about every way they can possibly try to make that happen as quickly as possible. But we'll see. We'll get there.
Well, we've turned off all the DEC taps mostly, right? So it's down to a dribble now. So total supply has to, at some point, shrivel up, right? And then
it's shrinking. Regardless. I mean, you can look at it, shrinking on a daily basis. Yeah, the only thing that's left is the leaderboard rewards, which we will get rid of. People talk about it a lot, but I'm like, it's so small as to be not that important. The real reason why DEC price is falling is people selling stuff, right? There's constant people selling stuff. They take the DEC from the market and they sell it. And that's fine. We just need more and more and more products priced in DEC that people want. Land is going to be a lot, right? I need like 30 million more DEC, I think, that I slowly, am purchasing over time, to get there. And like, that's just for the staking part of it, right? And then in phase 2.0, there's going to be all sorts of like other things that, like, one of the resources you're going to need for upgrading your buildings is going to be DEC that will just be burned, and all sorts of other things are going to need DEC. So it's going to be the thing in the game that you need. And you mentioned even selling SPS for DEC while the price is lower, and that's fine too. Like that's good ultimately. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's short term. Yes, SPS price might drop a little, but like long term, that short term little drop in price will be more than accounted for once we get that DEC to be stable consistently, right? It can't just be like up and then down and up and then down. It's just like constant demand. So yeah, I sell SPS for DEC a lot. And it's part of, like, some people say like, oh, you're selling SPS, you're horrible or whatever, but like, no, it's just part of contributing to making this all work.
So having dark energy crystals being stable, there are people out there who look for stable coins and they watch them to see how stable they are. If we get this right, which I really feel that you've got this designed right, we get this right, then there's going to be so much more attention on Splinterlands from all over the place. Not just people that want to buy and hold stable coins, but also people that want to go where things are being achieved. Right, that gets attention, that gets noticed, because there are people trying to make stable coins and failing constantly. And so if we can do what other people can't do, then they say, well, what else are these Splinterlands guys doing? And that's where we get attract a whole lot of that money. And if we do it around that sort of the next bull run, then we're and our stable coin stays stable, but the governance token moons, then that's winning in all sorts of different directions at the same time. So
yeah, I mean, right, this if we can pull this concept off of a new way of doing a stable coin, it's not only very helpful for the actual Splinterlands. Like we would start pricing everything on the markets just in DEC, not in X dollar amounts of DEC, right? But it's the same thing, right? So we don't have to rely on price feeds. I mean, just recently there was like a price feed issue with the bid market on Peak Monsters, and there's constantly like price feed issues and all these things. It's on Genesis League, obviously there was big price feed issues. It's not a good way to do things. It's relying on oracles, and that's why if you can just have an actual stable coin, then you price things in DEC. You say, okay, I want to sell this card for $1. You list it for 1,000 DEC, and it's 1,000 DEC, and that's going to be $1, right? So you don't have to worry about price feeds and all these things. So it's supremely helpful for things like like Rift Watchers packs or whatever. Like right now, I'm sorry, but I'm not buying a damn Rift Watcher pack because I don't want to spend that much SPS. Right, it's just silly. I'm very bullish on SPS. Obviously, I'm not going to do it. But if it's priced in DEC, then I'm more likely to just go buy them, right? And to get DEC to do it. And similarly, I still, if SPS does well as I expect in the future, I can still burn it for DEC and get the value out of it, right? So it's not. It just makes everything. No one like feels bad because, they held their SPS and then it went down and now they can't get the Rift Watcher packs or the value for it. It's just not the same. So it's super beneficial, right? So we're not just doing it just to do some random thing that's like important in the crypto ecosystem. It's extremely important for crypto games in general and most crypto projects that are selling anything to have a stable token to use. With that being said, then it is also very important in the crypto ecosystem, and it's a great way for us to like rise above everything else out there. Like I think we all on this call and probably people listening kind of know that Splinterlands is better for a lot of different reasons, but like every game and every project is out there with all these articles telling everyone how they're all better and they're doing these awesome things, and usually it's crap, but it's hard to tell. And like I've been taken in by that, like and I'm just a big fan of all these type of games and crypto projects, and I like to try all of them. And so there were so many where I was like, oh, this sounds so cool and it's great, and like let me put some money into it and get involved, and like you kind of after a while realize it just doesn't really have much legs. But it's hard for people to like generally, it's just inundated with, there's so many projects, there's new games coming out every day. And they're all saying about all the cool stuff that they're doing. So I think this is a way to really like raise some eyebrows. This is like beyond the level of like, oh, we're doing innovative gameplay or like we have cool NFTs or whatever. Like this is, and I'm even surprised that we just sort of stumbled upon this, right? We didn't like set out when we launched DEC. We're like, this is the plan. If I had known all this and I had all this in mind, like at the time, obviously, Rift Watchers packs would already be priced in DEC, and things like that. But we we sort of just stumbled upon this, and it still kind of boggles my mind that like, how isn't everyone doing this? I mean, honestly, like if I wasn't doing Splinterlands, I would probably go start a product-backed stablecoin project that like just does that. And I think that would be so cool. And a lot of the work would be going out to other projects and like incentivizing them to accept the stablecoin at a particular value and not using price feeds and all these things. So we don't have to do that part. We have a product already. We just have to convince the community to start selling some of the things in it. But yeah, like the potential there is so big, and if we do it here in Splinterlands, yeah, sure, we can like, you know, let other people do it in other projects and say we don't care about it. But if we can do it here in Splinterlands, it just brings all the value of it to Splinterlands assets, right? And that's what I want to do, right? Again, my goal, as I said earlier, is how can we bring more value to Splinterlands assets sustainably over the long term? And I haven't heard many better ideas than this. I mean, obviously the other things that we're doing are also great ways to do that by adding land and the new features that we're trying to do and working on new player experience stuff and all those things are good too. But like, this is one I can't ignore. Because like I see this as a great way to bring tons of value and attention to Splinterlands. And just improve the product at the same time. So it's, I don't know, I struggle to like emphasize it more, but yeah.
It would be hard to impress to somebody outside of the crypto world why we'd almost be more hoping that our token travels completely sideways for a year than that it moons. Like a mooning token might just be a pump and dump or wash trading, but a token that absolutely stays level for the entire that gets more attention in a way, depending on the what the token is, whether it's a governance or a stable coin. But that's where hang on, what are these guys doing here? All these other coins mooning, but this one hasn't moved a jot in 10 months, a year.
Yeah. And it's very valuable to gamers, right? Who aren't these crypto people and who aren't used to like, my token's up 50% and down 80% and all the other, and like I sold things on the market and now I got less and more and I don't know what's going on. It's kind of a nightmare. I mean, even for crypto people, like when you're doing certain transactions, it's better to that's why things are priced in dollars a lot of places. So yeah, and as far as the mooning token, like that's where the SPS burning mechanism comes in, right? So all the value that would be going into DEC, and we lost such a good opportunity. Like when DEC mooned because of the SPS airdrop, like if this mechanism was in place, all that value was supposed to go to SPS, and it's unfortunate, but I don't want to miss that opportunity again, right? And so it's in place. So the next bull run, all the value is going to go into SPS, but through DEC, and yeah, having that stable coin. I mean, you look at the market cap of the top tokens, and like a bunch of them are stable coins, right?
Yeah.
So,
Locked in.
yeah, they're extremely important. They're extremely useful, and we can do it in a different and arguably better way than anyone else is doing. I mean, it's like I said, it surprises me that this is actually the case. I'm like, either somehow we're just totally wrong about this, which I can't imagine, or no one else has done this yet. And I think it can be like a thing where, if we do this successfully, lots of other people are going to copy it and do it, which is fine. But like where, it's all like the Splinterlands model, like it's a Splinterlands model stable coin, we could just become like a household name in the crypto space for this. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but it's a possibility. And I don't, if it fails, I want it to be because we gave it its all. We gave it our all, and it just didn't work for some reason. I don't want it to be because we couldn't like agree as a community and we didn't really give it a fair shot. Like that would be a real shame, in my opinion.
And it is interesting because the stable coin is essential. If you don't want, especially if you're sort of trading, whether it's long-term, short-term, the moment you bring your crypto into the fiat world, you're on all sorts of radars, you're all regulatory. So just to keep it, that definitely has its place. And when you were talking about having it like, not necessarily like backed by a product, but having the product as the mechanism, as the gear mechanism for the stable coin, made me think, not maybe not directly related, but legally, the difference between a legitimate multi-level marketing business and a pyramid scheme is having a product. Like
Yeah.
Amway or something like that, that they have a product. It's a multi-level marketing business. All these other ones where the captain and the co-pilot and the passenger, like all these, they have no product, and that's the legal distinction between the two, the product. So
Yeah, it's not only legal, but it also just like sustainability of the economy, right? So like there's so many like DeFi projects and things that and like Terra and Luna is a great example. Like they had no product, right? So all these yields and all these everything, there's no way it's sustainable because there's actually if the yield itself is the only product, that's not going to work. And so when I evaluate other things like that I might want to participate in or invest in or whatever, I mean, that's the main thing as I look at is like, is there an actual product that I would use personally, right? And pay for? Because if everyone is going into a system trying to make more money than they put in, right? That's when the yield is the product. That literally doesn't work by definition. Some people, if everyone's putting in money, there's no way that all of those people can take out more money than they put in, right? It just doesn't make any sense. There's only a certain amount of money. Some people are going to get more, other people are going to get less, right? And when the people realize that they're getting less, the product that they went in for was to make more money, but they're losing money, so they leave, and that takes then the people who made the money can't make anymore, right? It falls apart. So that's what always happens in all of these schemes. And some people can make a fantastic amount of money, being good at getting in and out of those things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if there's some product there that people will just pay for because they want the product, so they're not in it because they want to make money. They're just paying money, putting money in because they're getting some other type of value out. Then that allows some people to make money, right, on their investments. It's the same thing with it, like how companies work, right? People invest in companies and they sell a product. So people are putting money into the company to get the product, and the investors are making the money out. It's the same concept. Like you have a product, people put money in, but since it's a decentralized ecosystem, it's not a company just making all that money with its investors. It's the people who stake assets or participate in that ecosystem. So, there's, like one, I'll just mention, like it's called Thorchain. It's a decentralized cross-chain exchange. And like I use that personally. It's a way you can trade, say, Ether for Bitcoin in a decentralized way and not using wrapped Bitcoin or anything, right to your native Bitcoin wallet. And like that's great to me, and I happily pay fees to do those trades, right? So since myself and other people are paying for this product, it means that there's real money that can be earned by the investors in the product. And Splinterlands is no different, right? People put money into Splinterlands, even if they hope and expect that the value of their assets might increase over time. They're not looking to take out every month, right? So they're putting money in because of the product. They like the game. They want to be at the top of the leaderboards. They want to get the most research on land, and they have long-term time horizons. So that's where earnings and asset value appreciation can come from. And the better and more, I guess just overall, the better the product, right? The more people that like it and want to participate in it, the more opportunity there is for that.
Yeah.
I was just blown away. I'm just zoned in.
Yeah. You just inspire confidence. That's all I can say. Like, you just talk and it flows. This shows that it's well thought out, that you've got confidence in what you're doing. And you listen to some people talk and you can hear them like verbally tripping over everything or trying to avoid something that they're trying to go around. You just flow. And
And
this,
I really welcome, like, I want people to get into the hard questions because we've thought about them and we have good answers for them. Like, I don't need people to have, like, I want people to dig in to, like, well, how is this not a Ponzi scheme? How is this better than other things? Why, what, like, all these things. I don't like when I have, like, sort of softball interviews or whatever. Because I want to, like,
Eggshells.
show off, like, yes, we've thought about these things. It's really not, we're not trying to hide anything. And I think it's interesting to note that I haven't always been this way. So I think initially we were obviously very excited about it for the first year or two or whatever, but I didn't really get all this. Like, I knew, like, in the back of my mind somehow that, like, this was better and the right way to go, and I wanted stuff like this, but I didn't really understand how it would all work or what the reasoning behind all it is, and was it just hype or was there, like, something real behind it? I didn't know how to articulate that. And then, I think, like, around 2020 to 2021, where things, like, really blew up, right? And blew up in a good way. I mean, like, went up, like, the whole space, kind of mooned. I actually got, it was very overwhelming, obviously, because we were not prepared for that growth, like we will be in the future. But I actually, like, started to realize, like, some of these things I didn't know. Other projects started to, like, kind of fall apart. Things were, kind of breaking down. And I was, like, almost to the level of sort of, like, depressed for a little while, because I was like, I kind of thought, like, oh wait, like, is this really just sort of a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme in some way? And I'm just, like, making it out to not be in my mind. Like, I don't know. So I was, or is it all, like, illegal, or, whatever it was. I was just like, oh crap, this might all be for naught. But I really, like, we just kind of started working through everything. And that's part of where all this stuff that we have now, or we're trying to implement now, was, like, put together. It's like, okay, here's the difference between, like, a Ponzi or pyramid scheme and a real product that brings in money. Here's all the legalities and, like, how things work, like you were mentioning. And here's how it can all be done in a decentralized way. And this is where all the, like, the SPS validators and the DAO and the governance and all this stuff comes in. So that has gotten me, like, just super excited. So I went from, like, sort of, like, depressed that, like, oh, this is all, like, not going to work the way I thought it could, to now I know how to do it, right? And now it's just, like, frustrating because it, like, takes so long and there's so much work and it's difficult, and I just want it to be all done yesterday. But it's exciting because this is what I'm here for. This is what I want. Like, it's not just Splinterlands or trading card games or whatever, but, like, I want to be a participant in this new type of system where it's really a community run game. The community is the one who gains the value. It's not all going to a company and its shareholders. It's just, like, it's what I'm here for, and I know we can build it, and we have, like, a clear roadmap to get there. So yeah, it is exciting. But it definitely was not always that way.
It's like a bibliography waiting to happen, and, like, your skill set, like, your skill tree's just upgrading over time.
Yeah.
You're just playing a real life RPG right here. Like, starting from nothing and just, like, working your way up into progression.
and even from an experience, like when a new person enters into the crypto space, they really don't know what's going on until they've experienced
Hmm.
their first bull run, followed by an immediate bear market. And Splinterlands as an entity has just done that and passed with flying colors. Because the bull run has disadvantages, people grab and run. Then the bear market, people freak out, they sell. So Splinterlands as an entity has had that cycle, just like a new person needs to have that cycle.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually, kind of had it twice. I mean, we started at, like, the end of the 2018 bull, the 2017-2018 bull run, and went into the big bear market, and then we went through it again, which it's good. We also have that history of, like, okay, people there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I don't like this and that, and this game's going nowhere, and I'm selling all my assets and whatever, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. but you can also look back at the people who made that same decision in 2019 and 2020, right? I mean, the past is not necessarily indicative of the future, but there are not a lot of projects that can say that. Like, look what happened in this project 4 years ago. So that, that builds confidence in me and I think other people too, is like, if you don't know what to do, it's like, okay, well, you can look at past history and, use that as at least a guide.
Absolutely.
And just on a lighter note, the first time saw you on the town hall after the beard, right? It was like, did anyone else comment on the Chuck Norris resemblance? Like, or was that just me? Like the first time you came on with the beard, we'd never
What?
seen you with the beard before. Like
Me?
yeah.
I've always had a beard. Maybe it was
think you did
longer one
something to-
time, but
I think that was it then. It was just, you just came on one town hall. It wasn't obvious the one before. And it was like, is this a Chuck Norris thing here?
I keep it short. I mean, like this, I guess. Yeah, but I've had it. I mean, not always, but definitely for longer than I've been doing Splinterlands. It's one of those things. If I shave it, I look young for my age. And if I shave the facial hair, I really look young. So my wife says I'm not allowed to do that.
You're just roundhouse kicking things into action, huh?
But Chuck Norris,
Not
yeah,
like
no, that
Chuck
sounds
Norris,
good.
huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna duct tape together our next feature.
That's a new promo card waiting to
Yeah.
happen.
Hey, there's one. Yeah, there's one.
So should we do some battling then?
Yeah, why not?
That sounds good. I
Um,
haven't actually done a challenge battle in a long time.
Okay, well, we'll send you the challenges. And one of the great things we loved about the challenges was the introduction of gladiator cards. Like that just adds a whole new dynamic.
Yeah.
And we're huge fans of the challenge feature. Like Gia and I will do
Yeah.
10 battles a day, like just on challenge feature. And
fun.
Matt, you've got a little story there about a challenge you received.
No, refresh my memory.
You're at work.
Oh yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's bedlam, but yeah, I'll be working and then a challenge will pop up and I'll be all about it.
Oh,
Gio was actually meant to send the challenge to me, but on his pull down, he just clicked to Matt Clark. And Matt's working also challenger, but he accepted it.
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Customers can wait.
totally agree.
All right, so Matt, do you want to go first? The Matt versus Matt.
I know. I think Gio, our challenge monkey. I wouldn't. I
Our
can't.
bloodlust. Yeah.
Gio is
You
a mad. He's a mad challenge monster, and so I can't get one from him. You go first, Gio.
It's gonna be difficult because I play in modern.
Yep.
Me too.
Gio and I both play modern. Matt's the only wild card here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we allow all the cards, I'm gonna be like out of my
Everything.
league here.
Yeah.
I haven't got any wild cards myself.
Now, all my
So-
wild cards are on my rental account at the moment because they're not leveled enough. Which is why another reason we're really looking forward to Rebellion. Bye bye Kitty. Bye bye Yoden. So yeah, we'll send the challenge. Gio will share his screen.
Say I just got a challenge from.
That's him.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
him. Yeah.
I just want to make sure this was a random person.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a random name, but yeah, the person's
And
right.
after you've both picked your teams, Gio will share the screen. We'll pause it and then we just like have a
Analyze.
look, make our guesses and stuff like that.
Oh boy, okay.
Trample.
And the gladiator cards, I have a bunch of gladiator cards, but I always play the gold foil brawls, and I have like none of those, so I never get to use those either. So this is gonna be a real
There you
thing
go.
for
Right.
me here.
Trample, cripple, and close range. Death and fire, only 33 mana.
This is stressful.
I'm feeling it too, man. I'm feeling it too.
Got to work on your poker face, Matt.
This is my poker face. I got this down.
This is a great part of this too. Like when you're battling someone, like you don't get to see the face of your opponent, like while they're picking their
No.
team. It's just it adds a great dynamic as well. when we first started
Mm.
doing this, we cracked onto Matt had two tells to do with top lip and bottom lip. But once we talked about it, that he doesn't do that anymore. We could tell if he was worried or if he was confident by the top lip or the bottom lip.
I'm always confident. That's my problem. Every time I submit a team, I'm like, that's a great team. I'm going to win. Often it's not, and I don't.
Man, okay. Let's yeah, okay.
See here, should be ready shortly. All right, just gotta order them. Let's see how this goes.
I will share screen and I will size it up. So where you interesting.
I didn't realize, but I apparently have the legendary fire gladiator.
Yeah, Finna Voxum. All right.
So I had
Oh,
to-
she's brutal.
Had to throw that in there.
I'm sharing screen. I believe it's right there. Share. You guys see that?
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What are we going with?
Wow,
Alright,
I've never seen you play the Heatsmith before, Gio. Was that because of what I thorned you the other day, or?
Yeah, yeah, it was actually. I am totally scared of that opportunity, Finna Voxum.
Mortius,
I just
so-
went all opportunity. I don't know why. I was just like, I'm just going all like melee opportunity crazed.
It could. Well, look at that. Like, I think you're gonna wipe out those
Yeah.
lower level, lower HP cards in the back, and that's kind of scary. I was hoping you would attack or approach me from the front, but you've bypassed it all. So, any thoughts? Just yeah.
I think Yabba's got this one. Just with the your gladiator, I think will be first to go, won't it?
and just stun
Yep.
as well,
Well, no, I mean the serpentine
poison.
will be first to go.
No, I mean
On my side.
the first to die. I
Oh,
think,
to
I
die.
think
Yeah,
Gio's
yeah, yeah.
gladiator will die first.
Yeah,
Which,
Okay.
yeah, I think we're going to have to give this one to Yabba.
yeah,
I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that totally.
yeah, I think
Uh,
totally, yeah.
I'm happy to play just so because we
Yep.
got 9 minutes remaining.
Mhm.
I didn't even realize, but yeah. Oh, look at that.
Oh, no bloodlust from him.
Oh no.
Oh, it's
Ooh.
Pierce.
No.
Hey.
Okay, yeah. All right. All right.
Oh, the miss.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's over.
I'm
Yeah.
quite happy to, yes, I'm quite happy to end and skip results. I will stop sharing. And yes, next up,
Alright.
I believe Bob or Matt or whatever.
Bob, you're up. Send him a challenge. I was going to
Matt,
say,
you
oh,
ready?
gee, send you a modern challenge, but you can't do that yet, can you? Challenges are always
Well, I've only
wild.
got modern cards anyway.
I mean, I really
Well-
only use modern cards in that because I don't even remember what the wild cards do. I have them. I just don't remember how to use them.
Good win
Oh, at least
regardless.
half of the cards.
Appreciate the ass kicking.
Probably half the cards I play are still my alpha cards because I'm a real slow learner. I've only just started to get comfortable with them.
Yeah, I
So
get it.
yeah.
I mean, the reason I play modern, even though I have most of the wild cards, is because that's really like for designing new cards, what you got to design for. So like if I got to play it for me to be able to design for it. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting one.
Right,
This is gonna be
so
a
we got
really interesting one.
earthquake, equal health, opportunity, fire and water.
I don't even know where to start with this one.
Equal opportunity is funny because if you could put, like, say, a magic reflector up front or a ranged reflect up front, and then have their first attacker from somewhere in the middle take a bit of range damage or reflected damage, then your opportunist can get right in there and start targeting somebody in the middle of their back row. Otherwise, there's not really any way when all the healths are equal to really hit deep.
Mm.
But it's so rarely pays off well.
Should I
blood is
only
in your
use
head,
modern
then you try.
cards, or can we use anything?
Anything.
Yeah.
Alright.
No
anything.
limits. We want unrestricted team building.
All right. I don't have time to look through all these cards.
It's so good just seeing you on the spot, man. Like,
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, you got to use gladiators just because they're gladiators. And you just assume they're better. If I don't look at what they do that closely.
All right. For what it's worth, I'm in. Can't say I'm super confident.
Oh crap! I'm running out of time. I don't want to lose because I ran out of time here.
how much time do you have left?
No, I submitted.
Okay.
I don't like the looks of this. That was I didn't have my stuff together on this one.
Yeah.
I spent too much time trying to like look at the cards and remember like what ones would be good. And yeah, the rats was smart. I don't know how I didn't go. I could have done exploding dwarf too. I went with magic for some reason. I don't know where that came from.
I like your team regardless.
Yeah.
Again, I like your opportunity plays, man. Like you're really going strong with. Oh wait, they
Well,
all
it's
got
an opportunity rule set. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ah!
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But hey, it's following suit, right? Like,
yeah.
I think I
Well,
might
and an
have relied-
equalizer, opportunity's not is like because they all have the same health. So
it goes
Yeah.
for the front, right? Is
yeah.
that- yeah.
Yeah, I might have relied too heavily here on martyrs I've never really tried martyrs on an equal health set before. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
Oh yeah, I see
Anyone-
that two martyrs.
Yeah. Anyone got a call?
I think Matt's got it.
Yeah, I think Oceanus is gonna wreck me. And
No, you hardly have any magic. Oh, but yeah, the
Uh,
force field's going to be super helpful.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
against the rats, but
yeah. Alright.
he's not going to live too long because all the other attacks are 4
Yeah,
or less.
I'll give it to Yava.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's funny because in Equalizer, I'll do everything I can to make sure I got a full lineup because why not take all that extra free health?
Oh, you see, you got my strongest damage out of there.
Yeah, I
This is
think
gonna be tough.
Tatiana's.
Alright.
I think
And this is who
Tatiana
I'm relying
Blade's
on now
gonna-
as my lion.
Force field though.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he got the buff from Martyr, so that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, but now the force field's gone. I also totally forgot about Earthquake, so I didn't even think about flying monsters.
Oh.
That's
No.
I don't have this.
Ooh.
I do not have this at all.
Oh no!
What? How?
Wow.
Nah,
I
that's
thought-
it. Awesome.
The plan worked though, because I wanted my flying lion there martyred up with the wings to sustain me.
I'm just happy
Ah.
to see a gargoyle lion, man. Like,
Yeah.
It totally came good. Well done, Bob.
All right. So Matt,
Congrats.
do you want to send Matt a challenge?
Yeah, I'll send him a challenge.
Alright.
Matt, can you screen share? I can't screen share while we're
Just
streaming.
drop the link in Discord if you like, Matt.
Yeah.
The usual way.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep. And we have
Yeah, sure. Except
we have 2 minutes on the clock.
Oh,
2
really?
minutes
Oh,
40.
we're running out of time. All right, let's do it.
okay, 2 minutes 40. We've
all right,
got
I'm
time
gonna
for
go
this.
quicker. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. No neutrals, cripple, no magic. This is where having a wild deck is going to be, I think, a big help.
It is. Tell me what I should do.
Well, it's two of our rule sets restrict the cards right down, so you're going to have a far smaller choice of possibilities.
Less to choose from means quicker to choose them.
All right. All right. I'm all submitted.
Oh man, you're fast. Jeez, that is a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I think I've played 40,000 matches.
That's
Manually.
crazy.
I reckon I'm coming up. Yeah, all manual, and I watch
I
them all
gotta do it
too.
before time runs out here.
Oh, man, where has time gone? It's not fair.
All right, submitted.
All right. I'll just grab the link, and then I won't look at the results. I'll just grab the link and drop it in the chat.
Yeah.
We might run out. If we run out of time, we'll just have to leave it as a cliffhanger at the end of the episode, and then say, "Oh, if you want to watch the final match, the mat off."
Yeah.
Alrighty, so guys, thanks for joining us on episode 69 of Splinterlands 101. We look forward to seeing you in episode 70, which will actually be taking part during Holozor's live stream on Splinterlands TV. We're doing something new there. Yeah, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show.
This was
really
fun. I love
appreciate
the challenges. I haven't done that in forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
And if we
appreciate
do
it, mate.
get
It's great.
cut off, I'll actually just cut this, grab the link for this, and I'll record it and I'll chuck it on the end. So regardless, everyone will get to see the results of this battle.
FPS. Or just, have it.
Dev28888. Ooh, EMP Money Emperors. All right, so we got Credits versus Jester Gamer, New Age versus Liberty Guy, and Pouffe Pousse. Well played. You made me read it out loud. Please redeem your username for the town hall. Well played.